Hey, good morning, up and at 'em. Yes, it is. It is Monday, August 18th, over halfway through the month. We're starting to head the other direction, right? That's right, I got my sweatshirt on. But not because it's freezing out. It's because I did get a chance to go fishing. And then on Saturday, I spent 4 hours on the water, and it was hot. And then yesterday, it started off cool, and then it got really hot. And then it cooled off and we had some rain, but somewhere in there, I think I got more heat than I probably should have because now I feel punky as hell. So, what's today's topic going to be? Today's topic is going to be the hidden cost of having parts that are not usable. So, stay tuned. Alrighty, welcome back to the channel. My name is Eric, if you didn't already know it. And yes, this is the weekday, Monday through Friday. Today is Monday, the 18th of August, 2025. So what are we talking about today? Well, the main thing I want to talk about is the hidden costs of defective parts. What are the hidden costs? Well, here's the skivvy if you don't already know it, which if you've been in the repair business for a while or even doing it yourself, or you probably come upon this. And that is when you get a defective part, here's what normally takes place, or at least it does at our shop. We sit around and we wait 3 or 4 days at the minimum to get the part there. So then it shows up, right? So then we go ahead and get it installed. That's going to take another day. And then if we catch it and we figure out that it's defective, now we got to send that back and hope to get a different one from somewhere else, right? But you're wasting all this time. And I can hear, many of you sitting there saying, well, if you buy the OEM parts, you don't run into that problem. Yes, you do. If you've been in it long enough, like we have, you have run into it numerous times. The thing about with the OEM parts is that if it's defective and you as a repair shop installed it, they will cover it. But what they won't cover is the labor as well. So you're out your time putting it in, taking it out, and putting the next one in. You can't rebill the customer for the same job because it wasn't their fault. If you figure out a way to bill a customer for something that's not their fault, good chances are they're going to catch on and they're no longer going to be your customer. So you can't do that either, right? So where does that fall? It falls squarely on the backs of us guys that are doing the repairs. Doesn't fall on the manufacturers if they're OEM, whether it's Homelight, Generac, Ingersoll Rand. I mean, the whole list of gauntlets, all right? Because they do have defective parts at times. Not as much as the Chinese, but it's still there, and it does happen. But like when we were dealing with a lot of the aftermarket companies, the way their warranty was if we bought a starter off them and sold it to a customer and the customer installed the starter, that voided the warranty even if it was a defective starter from the get-go. Because, if you know any of my history, you know that we ran a very large online parts business. And we became self-insured, and we became the so-called manufacturer when it came to if we sent a part and it ended up being defective, I ate the defective part, got the old part back, new part sent. If I could find where it was tinkered with or somebody had dropped it or this or that, that's something else. But if it came defective right from the manufacturer, then we self-insure through the venues. See, if you're running a shop and you have a retail outlet as well, you need to read the fine print. And the fine print says that if you, as the shop, a registered shop, does not do the repairs and installations, the manufacturer will not stand behind that job, will not stand behind that part. Because the idea behind it, and I totally get it, is that any Joe Schmo can think he's a mechanic. But there are differences between a mechanic and someone that is trying to save money and makes a mistake and crosses the wires or shorts something. You know, things happen. But in the end, it's still the hidden costs are, they're willing to cover the defective part. They will cover your return shipping on it and they will send you a new one. In the meantime, you're waiting again. See, you're not waiting, but you're waiting. Okay, let me back this up a little bit because I feel like I'm getting too far ahead of myself. And what do I mean by that? I mean, when we're waiting for a part to come in, we're not just sitting there with our thumbs up our asses doing nothing. We go on to the next job, right? So it's not totally wasted time. But that unit is in our way until we can get it repaired and out the door. And if we're waiting on parts, that means we're not going to get paid until it's fixed and fixed right. So if you get if you're ordering through eBay and Amazon, good chances are you're going to get it from a Chinese seller. And if it's not a Chinese seller, good chances are you're getting it from someone that is either buying direct from China and becoming their own aftermarket type company, or as many of the bigger aftermarket companies and your wholesalers and your manufacturers, they are also, or at least last I knew, had accounts set up with all the venues and were peddling their stuff through there as well. And I'll tell you, you know, my grandfather used to always say, you don't shit where you eat. In short, that means if you're selling parts to me, if you're the manufacturer and you're selling parts to me, the dealer, and I'm selling parts on the venue, you don't just start competing directly against me and undersell me on the venues. That's shitting where you eat. Because you may have gained in the short run, but you're going to lose in the long run because you're going to put a lot of your so-called dealers out of business. And when they're either out of business or out of that market, you think you have the lion's share. But then all of a sudden you see, yeah, the online sales have gone up for your departments, but now your dealer sales have dropped right off to nothing. And I can tell you from history, I would rather have a bunch of dealers buying from me than Joe Schmo on eBay or Amazon. Because Joe Schmo from eBay or Amazon are hard to please. Dealers, on the other hand, they know how to install it. They know what the part is. They know what they need. And usually they order exactly what they need. Joe Schmo, he just ordering anything and trying to kind of like throwing stuff up against the wall to see what'll stick. That's kind of what eBay and Amazon is. It's a testing ground to have them order your stuff, and if it doesn't change what's going on with it, they send it back and say that there's something wrong with it, when it may not have anything to do with it. And we've talked about this with a bad safety switch and chasing your tail, trying to figure out where it is. But if you unplug the grounding wires on the coil and it starts right up, at least you know that the engine coils, electrical, that stuff is fine. Start locating your safety switches. Look to see if there's a wire grounding up against the frame. Does it take time? Yes, but that's all diagnostic. That's stuff that if you don't know it, you need to learn it and learn it the correct way. But the hidden costs are you're waiting on the part. You get the part. You install the part. Worst case scenario, you realize that the part is defective, and then you got to send it back and wait more time. And you know that your customer, of course, says there's no hurry, but he wants it yesterday. Heaven forbid, if you get the part in, install it, it seems to work fine, you kick it out to your customer, and within a couple of days, your customer is back saying it's doing the same thing. That's even worse, because now it's a do-over. You're going to have to cover the labor, the shop is, of taking that part back off, sending it back to the manufacturer or the Chinese seller, what have you, and then trying to get another one in. Some guys will actually take and test products before they even install it. When it comes through in the mail, they'll pop it apart and test it. Certain things can be tested. You can test starters. You can check stators. You can check pickups. You can check coils. You can check. There's a number of things that you can check. But if you ordered a set of coils for a guy's riding lawnmower because you were getting intermittent spark, or one side was hotter than the other, were a brighter red and then faint. And first thing we do is we swap coils that are already on the machine. Does the faint stay with the faint one, or does it go over to that side? That's something you need to know. Just going and buying 2 new coils and throwing it on there and hoping for the best sometimes works, but for the most part it doesn't. There's a reason that coil is breaking down, and you need to figure that out. There for a while, we were getting the bulk of our parts from China through Chinese sellers, and it was in the upper 60s, low 70s of defective parts. And when I say defective parts, I'm also going to count the parts that they sent us that didn't even look like the picture they had posted or anything like the original that you have in your hand off that piece of equipment. And we were mostly ordering carburetors. You know, one carburetor does not fit all. There's a gazillion different carburetors out there. Everything from handheld to, riding lawnmowers to walk-behind trimmers to you name it, all right? So in that defective / wrong part, it was creeping up into the 70% that got sent back. And that is costing your business, because you can have all this work, but if you're getting that much of a percentage of misfits that are going to cost you, then you have all this equipment that's sitting there waiting for these parts, especially if it's a do-over. You've got all these customers sitting there wanting their piece of equipment yesterday. And like I said, it's even better if you can catch it before it gets to the customer. But if it squeaks out and it gets to the customer, now you got egg on your face. You have to redo the work for nothing. It's not their fault. You're the one warrantying your work, right? You have to warranty your work. You can't. I've seen mechanics before will make excuses of why stuff doesn't run the way it's supposed to run. And they will make sure to let you know that just replacing a carburetor probably isn't going to do it. It's far worse than that, or it could be this, or it could be that, and it's not worth the cost to fix it. That's their normal. I've seen it. When in fact, it was something that they had done or not done. And when it went through a different shop, and that shop knocked it out in 15 minutes and had it running good, how do you think it makes that other mechanic look in the customer's eyes? And how many people is that customer going to tell about how you told him that it wasn't worth fixing because it was a flaw and the age and this and that, and all of a sudden this other shop brings it back to life. It's gonna put egg on your face. That kind of goes back to what we were talking about the other day is, you can't run a shop in the red. You have to make a profit. But you can't charge top dollar for shoddy work. You need someone that takes pride in their work, does a good job, and is invested. If you got a guy that's, it's not my problem, I get paid no matter what, and isn't worried about your reputation, it may be time to be looking for a new person. And if that's you and you're the owner and you feel that way, it may be time to find a new business or a new employment or go work for somebody else. Because you aren't going to last long with that attitude. You really aren't. The biggest gauge I get is how would I feel if I was treated that way? And if someone told me that it was not fixable and they were making all sorts of excuses after I paid like $200-300 to have it fixed, and they're telling me there's no warranty on it and it's still doing the same damn thing that it was doing before, and I take it over to Joe Schmo, the other shop, and they knock it out and it cost me $100 and it was a minor fix, where am I going the next time? The other guy. That's why I say it doesn't matter what you charge. It's the quality of the work that you're putting out. It is. I would rather spend $100 an hour on somebody that can knock it out in an hour than $50 an hour on someone that's going to take an hour and a half. Still cheaper at $100, ain't it? And they know their stuff. Now, what's worse is a guy charging $100 an hour and it's taking them an hour and a half compared to the shop that's charging $50, and they're doing it in an hour. See, it goes both ways. It's not what you charge. It's the quality of the work that you're letting out that door. Because everything that you let out that door has got your stamp of an approval on it. Or it should have. And if you're not in tune with your customers and wanting to do quality work, you're going to see gradually less and less customers. You are. And in the comments, can anybody answer me? Because I can Google it, I guess. Is the Cub Cadet side-by-side being put out by a Chinese company? Because I was curious, because the guy that wanted us to work on it, somebody else that had their hands in on it. But he had just bought it off from a Cub Cadet dealer. And the Cub Cadet dealer told him it would be a minimum of 2 months before he could get to do any work on that side-by-side. And I'm thinking, 2 months? But maybe that's one way to, if you don't want to touch them, that you can get your customer pushed out to somewhere else. This guy said he'd never go back to that dealer for anything. After buying and spending $26,000 and then finding out that it had an issue and the guy wasn't willing to look at it for a couple months. Because we've also talked about you're only as good as your last job. And you could do stellar for the past 10 years, but have 2 piss poor jobs get by you and out the door this week, and watch how fast that reputation starts to change. So in the comments, what are your thoughts on this? What are you seeing out there? Are you seeing a 70%? Are you seeing a 50%? Did you understand that if you buy it from Sten's, Rotary, and the OEM companies, those parts, and you install them, if they're defective, that they will replace the part, but they won't pay you to reinstall and to take out the old one. They don't do hours. They do just parts. So on that note, you guys have a great Monday, and we'll catch you here bright and early tomorrow morning. Again, thanks again so much for watching and supporting the channel.